giving the young fella a debut. Was that intended, or do you always think he might get a run in the third test, or Fainu?
Oh, look, Latu's been extremely impressive since he's come into camp. He's a very classy kid. You can see why there's a bit of hype around him, and why the Tigers work so hard to get him, and he's fit into our camp terrifically well as well. So, look, he probably would have played last week. There's a couple of reasons why he didn't, but he's certainly shown that class and shown that he's right up to the occasion, and I'm pretty excited to see how he goes, actually.
Is Dion injured, or is he? Or you just decided to give?
No, Dion's healthy. Yeah. We just decided to give Latu an opportunity, and as I said, he deserved one last week, and it was a real 50-50 call for the first game, to be honest. He did a great job as soon as he came into camp, and he's fit in really well, and he's really close to a few of the older players through his brother, and it was a 50-50 call, and it's a deserved opportunity.
Without giving too much away, what's the game plan for Latu? Are you going to bring him through the middle, or do you think he'll spend a bit of time in the halves?
Oh, look, possibly do a bit of both. He's more comfortable in the halves, and we want to give him a bit of an opportunity there to be comfortable, and that's a big occasion for him. It's a test match and against a Tier 1 nation, and at Headingley adds a little bit to that, and a lot of our young guys or even our older players grow up sort of watching test matches between Australia and Australia and England, or England and New Zealand, or Great Britain. So that adds a little bit to the occasion as well, and we want to put him where he's comfortable.
And obviously this is probably his first time on the big stage. What's the advice to him, and how do you keep those nerves down?
He's a good footy player, so he's going to be nervous because obviously it means a lot to him, and when I told him he was going to play, you could see how much it meant to him straight away, and there's a bit of a family history there that adds to that as well. So I know his mum and dad and his family are extremely proud of him, and all we want him to do is go out and do what he does every week. He's a great player, and he's here for a reason, and he's an extremely talented player, and he's talented, and he backs himself, and that's what we've seen at junior level. That's what we've seen in his opportunities to play New South Wales Cup, and he's done an outstanding job there, and that's why he's here. So if he backs that up, he'll do well.
And no Aden just watch your back, mate. No Aden Blake this week. How do you fill that void through the middle?
Well, look, we're very comfortable with what we brought away as a squad. We brought 22 players away that we were very comfortable with, and obviously we're going to miss Aden. He's been our captain. He's been our forward leader. I think he's done a great job. He ran for over 180 metres in the first game, which is a good example of just how talented he is, and not just how big and powerful he is, but how skillful he is, and also the minutes that he can play at such a high intensity. So we're going to miss him, but it's a great opportunity for other players to put their hand up, have a little bit more responsibility, have a little bit more impact on the game, and I know there's a number of guys there willing to do that and wanting to do that.
Obviously this week's all about restoring a bit of pride in the jersey and doing one for Tonga. Can you talk to me a bit about like the legacy of this series and what it's going to mean for this team going forward?
Yeah, one thing we haven't done is we don't have to restore any pride. I've been very proud of the blokes, and I've been really proud of this group in terms of how they're prepared for these test matches, how they've conducted themselves since we've been over here. I'd be very sure if you rang every motel, they'd speak extremely glowing of how these blokes have presented themselves and, as I said, conducted themselves around the place. And I think they've done the same thing on the field. And it wasn't that too long ago that if you spoke about Tonga playing a game against England, we'd be happy to be on the same field. And we're over here competing really well. We've been in both games and had our opportunities to put ourselves in a better position in both games and even win both games as well. So I'm extremely proud of what these blokes have done, and I know they're going to go out and do that again this week, and the way they're prepared tells me that, the way they've handled it tells me that, and it's an extremely big occasion for us, and we've used the word historic right from the start. And no Tier 2 nation, no Pacific nation has ever had this opportunity, and that's because you only have to go back 5 or 6 years, and Pacific nations and Tier 2 nations weren't up to this sort of opportunity, and we very much are. We understand how historic it is, and all of that's not lost on our players, and they're going to give their best this weekend.
And you guys have paved the way. I guess Samoa are going to look at coming over as well. There's been a lot of talk around the international game at the moment, how we can sort of build it. There's been a few suggestions like a State of Origin style series between Tonga and Samoa. Is that something you would support and wish you could take part in?
Yeah, definitely. And I'm not sure how concrete the plan is for next year, to be honest, either. And there's still obviously conversations about us playing Samoa, and that's something that hasn't happened as much as it should over the last few years, and COVID stopped that. So we haven't played Samoa since 2018 mid-year. Hang on, no, sorry. No, 2017 World Cup. I don't think we've played them since. Outside of the last year's World Cup, so we've played them once since 2017. And for two nations that are as strong as we are at the moment, with the rivalry that's there, and obviously it's a rivalry that's built on a bit of love and respect, but at the same time, it's our closest neighbours, and with that brings a real rivalry, and both wanting to get one up on each other. So they got one up on us in the last World Cup. Prior to that, we sort of had the run of things. So we'd love to play them. As I said, there has been some discussions about that possibly happening next year, and how that looks, we're not sure. There's a fair bit to sort of sort through once we get back from this tour.
Aside from the rucks, which has been well canvassed, what on and off the field has anything surprised you about this series?
Not really. We knew it was going to be a challenge, and part of the excitement about coming over here. And I remember talking to the Bromwich brothers before we obviously I'm dealing with them at the Dolphins, and them telling me just how much and how fondly they remember their 3-4 week tour over here with New Zealand, and how great it was off the field, how great it was on the field, and as I said, how glowingly they speak about it. So, but part of that is the challenge, and part of that is the challenge of referees that we're not used to. It's good to see they've got some energy. Part of that's conditions that you're not used to, refereeing you're not used to. There's all these different challenges, weather you're not used to, fields you're not used to. So we were ready for all that. We knew that was all going to be the case. I spoke after the game that the slowness of the ruck probably did catch us by surprise, even though we were ready for it, and certainly hasn't helped us as a team. But again, that's part of the challenge, and something that we were aware of and used to coming over here.
Are you surprised it became a little bit of a Wigan v St Helens thing, as far as particularly in the first couple of weeks?
Look, I am a little bit surprised there, and it's not something I want to get caught up in, to be honest with you. We're here to promote a test series. We're here to promote a game this weekend, and I think England have played terrifically, and there should be a real focus on how they've played, and they've played with some skill, they've played with some real toughness, they've played with some real grit, and we've played well as well. We've been really proud of our blokes, and as I said before, and one thing that I'll give England enormous credit for is when we've had our opportunities, they've turned up and they've scrambled, and they've shown a real grit and a real desire to want to save those, and that's what we should be talking about, and that's certainly what we should be talking about leading into this test and promoting this test, and it's going to be a great game. We're going to play better. I know we'll play better. I'm sure England will be wanting to do the same, and I'm sure it's going to be a very close contest, and I can't control comments that are made, and if Sean needs an enemy, then I'm happy to be that. There's no dramas.
Yes, looking forward, Kristian, do you have plans to stay in the role long term?
Look, I'm not sure. In 12 months' time, I become the coach of the Dolphins, and that means that I've got things that I need to consider there in terms of what my commitment's going to be to the Dolphins, and I know that's going to increase a lot is a better way to put it, and I need to make sure that whatever I do with Tonga going forward fits in with that as well, and that's a little bit determined, I guess, by what the international calendar does look like in the next couple of years, and how big that is, and how big those commitments are. And one thing I do know is that Tongan Rugby League's come such a long way. If I go back to my first involvement in 2013, and the organisation, the professionalism, the level of player, the commitment from the players, the opportunities that we now get, all those things have changed considerably, and it's been great to be a part of and play a little part there. And one thing I do want to do is make sure that it continues on that sort of path, and if I can be involved in the future in some way to make sure that that's the case, and I certainly will. And I'm not saying that I'm stepping away from coaching there. I just mean that I want to make sure that I am involved in helping that happen.
And is Will your captain tomorrow, and Aden's had a lot on his plate this week. Have you had any insight into that, because he's in the news a bit back in Oz?
Oh, look, I obviously knew a fair bit about his family situation before he came away, and he has. It's a terrific sign of him as a bloke and as a leader, and he's had a fair bit going on at home, and he's been really committed to this group. And that's one thing I love about this group is we've got guys who want to put their hands up and want to commit to what we're doing, regardless of what else is happening back in Australia. And he's certainly a great example of that. And the media and what came out in the media caught everyone, including him, by surprise a little bit. But he's handled it really well, and it hasn't been an impact on the group. And one thing he knows is that he's got our support, and we'll all certainly rally around him and make sure he feels that.
So, because coaching over here, you would hear the term compassionate grounds quite often when guys want to go home, but this isn't just an empty line.
No, it's far from an empty line, no.
Yeah. And Will is the captain?
And he will be the captain, yes. And that's obviously very fitting. He's captained us before. He's been a terrific leader. The COVID period and him being over here and things like that meant that looking into the future a little bit, that other guys have got opportunities. Yep. But he's always led from the front. He's always been a really positive influence, and I know that every time he takes the field he does Tonga proud, and he'll do that again tomorrow.
The games have obviously been really contested, and there's obviously been a lot of theatre going on in the media. Do you think there's a little bit of a rivalry brewing between Tonga and England?
Oh, look, I think there's been a bit of rivalry there on field since 2017, and those scenes, that game, the way it finished, there's a little bit of controversy. That always sort of leads into a bit of a rivalry. So, I think it has been building for a while, and that's more testament to how far we've come along than anything else. And as I said before 2017, we wouldn't have been given the privilege of being on the same field as England, and unless it was coming across each other in a pool game in a World Cup. And since then, we played in major knockout semi-finals in World Cups. We're playing in a major Test series now. We played obviously Great Britain in 2019. So that's a real testament to how far this group's come, and we're on an upward trajectory, and we want to keep it that way.
And obviously having that an extra north and southern hemisphere rivalry, do you think that's good for the international game?
Of course it is. What we need is an international game, and Steve's obviously quoted me on rules and things like that before, and the flexibility around rules and Tier 1 nations, Tier 2 nations, and all that happening before the 2017 World Cup, that's led to what we've got at the moment. And we've got, we're competitive, we've shown that. Samoa are competitive, they've shown that. Fiji and PNG are growing and becoming more and more competitive and playing an outstanding competitive series of their own. So that's what we've got at the moment. We need to continue that.